Rachel. What? You might have to take it for me. No. No. It wasn't an invitation. It was just she was coming. And that's kind of the only way that knew she was coming. So she said she was coming, and these guys got when she was coming. So.
Oh, that's right. And then you guys talked
Yeah. Everybody kind of settle in. All right, I'd like to thank everybody for coming to our March
Oconee County Republican Party Executive Committee meeting. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And if everyone would please stand, we'll start with our invocation. Please recite the Lord's Prayer with me. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. I'd ask David Dow to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And on the back of your agenda, you'll see the Republican Creed of South Carolina. Everybody find that? If you need a copy, we may have some extras. All right, the South Carolina Republican Creed. I do not choose to be a common man. It is my right to be uncommon. If I can seek opportunity, not security, I want to take the calculated risk to dream, to build, to fail, and to succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for dole. I prefer the challenges of life to the guaranteed security, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. I will not trade freedom for beneficence, nor my dignity for a handout. I will never cower before any master save my God. It is my heritage to stand erect, proud, and unafraid, to think and act for myself, enjoy the benefit of my creation, to face the whole world boldly and say, I am a free American. All right, thank you. Be seated. I want to welcome everybody to the meeting tonight. Again, I want to thank Sergeant Crooks and Sergeant Mulvey in the back for being our security this evening. Thank you, guys. We've also got some candidates for office in attendance tonight that are not on the agenda. So when it comes time to adopt the agenda, I'll need a motion to amend the agenda so we can hear from the candidates that are here tonight. And I appreciate each of them for coming. We got a full agenda. Will probably carry us to our 8:30 approximate end time. We have the medical marijuana resolution coming up from the Stamp Creek precinct. We also have Miss Jill Swing here. So we kind of have a pro and a con side of that. We're going to get to hear both sides of that tonight. And I think that'll be an interesting discussion when it comes to that resolution and could take a good bit of our time. And then under old business, we still have not finished our discussion and vote on the Homeland Security audit response to secure our Pine Street elections. So those are likely to take up the majority of our time as we hear from Charles Lutz and Jill, and then also Doug Musick. So I'm not going to discuss anything beyond that, except we got a busy election season that we're in the middle of right now. And I hope everybody's out supporting their candidate of preference. Okay. Roll call by precinct. We have already got the report.
Yes, we have 24 precincts represented. There's 21 executive committee men, 1 president, and 2 proxies. And then myself and Rachel Moore. So there's 26 votes for this evening.
All right. Good turnout. So next is adoption of the proposed agenda. I already said I need a motion to amend the agenda. Do I hear a motion to amend?
I make a motion to amend the agenda to allow the candidates running for Congressional District 3 to speak.
Now second.
Second. All in favor or any discussion?
Question,
Yeah. Yes.
can we put a time limit on that?
Yes. What do you think is appropriate? 5 minutes? 7 minutes?
No more than 5.
5 minutes. Any discussion?
Are there any candidates for any other office here besides the 3rd district?
I don't believe so. I believe we have Mr. Phil Healy, Kevin Bishop, and Stuart Jones, correct? Anybody else in the audience? I think that's all we have. Okay. I'll be loose on the 5 minutes. How's that? So no more discussion here? No more discussion on the amendment? Yes.
I'd like to amend that motion to add to the next meeting
Can we finish voting on this one, or you're amending his motion? Because his
What's your
motion,
motion?
his motion relates to the meeting today.
time.
Mhm.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so to restate his motion, it's 5 minutes loose on the candidates for District 3. Second, second. Any objections? All in favor? Aye. 5 minutes loose it is, gentlemen. Okay, Mickey, did you have something?
Yes, for our next meeting, I'd like to put on the agenda that we review the process for removal of personnel members. We never did hear back from the investigation of the prior incident. So I'd just like for that process to be defined so that all the ECs know the process.
Okay. So that's a motion to add to the agenda, which is really just a chairman's decision. And are you referring specifically to Luke and Jennifer? Is that your reference? I just want to be clear.
Yes, that is.
So
correct,
Utica-
but it's not particularly for them. This is the second time
And
this has happened with no defined steps or process. The EC's tasked.
well, I don't need an explanation. We'll put it on the agenda.
All right. sounds
All right.
good.
Any objections to putting that on the agenda? The chairman makes the call anyway, so we'll put it on the agenda. All right. Thank you, Mickey. All right. So we have the agenda as modified. The next is item 7, approval of January 18th and February 15th executive committee minutes. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as written and as distributed?
I'll make a motion we accept them as written.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next we have sponsors' comments from Doug Musick regarding voter turnout and observations at the Stamp Creek precinct. Doug, come on up.
Just a point of order, Mr. Manning, when were we gonna let the candidates speak?
Probably under new business, right here.
Okay.
Do we have a preference for that? Do candidates need to get out of here? Or are y'all committed for tonight? We'll do it right after the treasurer's report. How's that? All right.
I just wanted to talk for a few minutes about the last presidential primaries, both the Democrat and Republican primaries. As some of you know, I worked the polls, so I got to observe some interesting things that happened. If you all remember in the Journal, there was an article that came out encouraging people, Democrats, to vote in the Republican primary and vote for Nikki Haley to try and mess up the election. At the Democrat primary, we had a group of women from Stamp Creek that called themselves the White Dress Ladies. And if you remember where that comes from, when they tore up the speech, Trump's speech there, and all the women in the House and the Senate were wearing white dresses, that's where that came from. So it was an organized group that they wanted to be just like that. And what they did is they showed up outside of the precinct voting and talked Democrats into not coming in to vote in the Democrat primary, come back in 2 weeks at the Republican primary and vote for Nikki Haley. Is that legal? Yes, it's legal. And we have open primaries. That was the first thing we noticed. Then at the Republican primary, I noticed a lot of my neighbors who I know were Democrats were coming out to vote. And we had some interesting things show up. First of all, right about 1:15 in the afternoon, 1:30 in the afternoon, a large group of them showed up together. And they showed up in not just ones and two in a car, there are 3 to 5 people in a car. So this is well organized. And I suspect they met and had lunch and all came together to vote. The next thing we noticed is that when I looked at the vote tallies at the end, there was a big disparity between, if you remember, there were 3 questions on the ballot. What happened is very low turnout, difference in turnout for the voting on the ballot and the ones that voted for president. And why would that be? I surmise because those 3 questions weren't on the Democrat ballot. So it's just another sign that this was an organized event. We had a man come in with his wife, and he just announced right to us. He goes, "My wife said I got to come down here to vote for Nikki Haley." and we're like, "Oh, really?" So we go look him up in the books. He's not even registered to vote. So he didn't get to vote, but his wife did vote. We had a group of 5 young ladies, we suspect they were Clemson students, show up, and they wanted to vote. And of course, they weren't registered either. So we had to turn them away. And we go, "Why'd you come in here if you're not registered?" "Oh, we just thought we'd try." I mean, unreal. We had another lady come in, and she wanted to know if her neighbor had come in and voted yet. And we're like, "Well, that's interesting." And she goes, "Well, I've been working on her, and I told her she needs to get in here and vote." And it was quite obvious which way she wanted them to vote. Don't get me wrong, this has nothing to do with it. There's probably several people in this room that voted for Nikki Haley. That's not the issue. The issue is they were organized and motivated, and they showed up. Where's my point going with this thing? Republicans are traditionalists, and they like to vote on election day. And anything can happen. The weather can be bad, a kid gets sick, the car breaks down, or whatever, and then your vote doesn't count. We have early voting. We need to work to try and get Republicans to show up and take advantage of early voting. And the National Republican Party calls this bank your vote. What are we doing in Stamp Creek? We're organizing. We got a list of the Republicans in our precinct, and I've got volunteers already that are going to call the week prior to early voting starting, which for the June 11th primary, I believe it's May 28th. Is that right, Pat? 28th. So the week prior to May 28th, we're going to start calling people. We're not going to campaign or anything like that, and we're trying to just call Republicans. But what we want to do is we're going to call it voter education. We want to let them know that you can vote early. And a lot of people have probably only voted at their precinct, and they don't realize that if you're going to do this, you got to go to Walhalla and all that stuff. And then while we have them on there, we're going to turn around and say, have you, Walhalla, these are the hours. Do you need a ride? And then we're going to try and organize groups and do like they did. Let's show up with 4 or 5 people in a car and get in there and bank the vote. I just highly recommend you do this in your own precincts or bring it up, and you can mirror that similar program. June is going to be important. November is going to even be more important, and June will be our practice for November. And it's all going to be voter turnout. All right. What was the effect of them doing this? If you notice, statewide, Trump won 60-40. In District 1, Nikki Haley won by 50 votes, 50 votes. That works. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Doug.
So I'll just wrap that up by saying we can't take it for granted that Biden is doing so bad that the Republicans can sit on their laurels and not facilitate votes. All right. We know the Democratic Party is going to facilitate votes. We're going to do it legally. They're going to probably do it in every which way, shape, and form, illegal and otherwise, that they can. And as precinct officers, I would ask you to work down your list of precinct members and work through a list of voters in your area. And if you need a list of voters, we'll try and facilitate that in a legal way as well. But we've got to call people Republicans and we've got to get them out to vote. All right. We cannot sit back and let another election slip through the cracks. Okay. All right. Thank you, Doug, for those comments. Let's see. Chairman's report. I'm going to bypass that unless there are questions from the committee, because we've got some candidates to hear from. Terry? Or Rachel, sorry, Vice Chair report on the district director. Okay, got it.
The last time, or the time before, I can't even remember now, I did hand out a preliminary business process for handling resolutions. And thank you for all of the people who have given feedback on that process. You will see as I hand this out that it has changed significantly. And I think this is a good process that will help everybody understand what needs to be gone through and will help us. The ultimate goal is that our resolutions are so good that when we send them to the state, they all get passed. Last time we sent a resolution and somebody else, some other county sent a resolution, basically the same thing, and ours did not get chosen and theirs did. So we put a lot of time and effort into resolutions and we want them to have an impact. So this is the purpose of the process. So I'm going to just pass these around and let everybody know if there is additional feedback you have on this process. Let me know, please. And my email is on the website, and we'll work through that through the district directors.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, Terry, now it's you.
Okay, this is gonna be really short. So tonight we have closed out the Easter basket sales. Want you to know that we sold 64 of them. So that means that the party has received $1,280. I want to thank two people very much in particular for sponsoring everything that went into those baskets. So the party makes 100% of all that money. That'd be my mother and David Dial. David Dial also put in a little challenge that every basket that is going to Sergeant Mulvey's organization, he would do an additional $2. So it's another $100 going out of his pocket to Community Tree, because that is a organization that we really support. So we're super excited. It's going to be 54 baskets coming your way to hand out Easter weekend for a lot of kids that wouldn't ordinarily get a basket. So thank you for everybody who bought a basket.
All right, thank you. And a special thank you to Evie and David for their sponsoring of that event. David, come up and give us the treasurer's report, please.
Well, let me just say, we've got to give Terry and her grandson a lot of credit. They put those baskets together. They did every bit of labor on every basket that was sold. So anyway, welcome you guests. And, the party needs money to run. There's a red bucket back there for donations, and there's cold water for $2 a bottle. So make sure you get you a bottle before you leave. I appreciate it. All right, so two items I'm going to be talking about briefly. We put together a party budget for 2024, and it was sent out. If you've got a copy of this and you want to look at it, we got the previous year, 2023, what we expect, what we got in donations and sponsorships and what our expenditures was. In 23, we had the convention. A lot of money went on that convention. And forecast for 24, of course, we don't have any conventions, but we got a lot of campaign stuff going on. So my forecast for income is $5,512 for the year. And my forecast for expenditures is $8,410.75. And on the right-hand column, you'll see a monthly need. For example, at the top of that, to meet our budget, the sponsorship program, we got to pull in $416 a month. And for example, let's see, P.O. box rental, we got to take in $19.17 a month, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the budget. And now there's a shortfall where we're expecting to take in, based on what we did last year, about $500 a month. And what we're planning on spending, if these meetings last 3 hours, if they last 3 hours, the expenditures will be $700 a month. So there's a little bit of a shortfall there. So far through February and what it looks like for March with the Easter basket program, we're doing very well. So anybody that looked at this have any questions? All right, the next item will be what the February financials were. We came into the month of February with $8,314.92 in revenue in our bank account. We pulled in that month $600 in the sponsorship program, $425 in the donations, for a total of $1,025.82 for income. We had $629 expenditures, with $354 of that going to the Journal to advertise the candidate forum last month. So we actually made money last month. We started 831492. We ended up with 871174. So we're doing really well. And I'd like to thank a lot of folks that's sitting in this room for donating to the party, because it takes money to run a party, have a nice building like this, and do the things that the party's supposed to do. Any questions for me? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, before we get to old business, we're going to let the candidates for office come up and speak, and I'm going to let Terry introduce them in no particular order. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Well, I have to say, I'm disappointed. We did meet, especially with Sherry Biggs. She was going to be here tonight, and unfortunately, it looks like she's not going to make it. I'm going to start with Phil Healy. Phil, I ran into in Anderson at the Solicitors Forum, which was really great. If you go to the Anderson County, their Facebook page, that was recorded and very, very insightful. Phil?
Thank you, Terry. Good evening, Oconee County. Thank you to the American Legion for allowing us to use this building. Thank you very much for all that you do and allow me the opportunity to be here with you. My name is Phil Healy, and I'm running for the 3rd District U.S. House seat that is being vacated by the retiring Jeff Duncan. I want to personally thank Congressman Duncan for his 14 years of service to our district in Washington, or swampland. I stand before you today as a proud American, a devoted Christian, a strong MAGA conservative who believes in putting America first. We're getting ripped off around the world. And I'm a staunch President Trump supporter and have been since day one when he walked down that escalator in 2015. God has truly blessed me abundantly and beyond my wildest dreams. I want to go to Washington to fight to make sure that this same American dream stays alive and well for many generations to come. And to quote the great President Reagan, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed down for them to do the same. Well, one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States when men were free. It has been a great honor and privilege for me to serve in the military alongside many great Americans from all walks of life. I retired from the U.S. Navy after 23 years in 2018, and my assignments and travels took me through 33 countries with various assignments and combat operations. And I've seen the good and the bad in many of these nations, many of which are socialist countries. And I know exactly what needs to be done in Congress to make sure that socialism stays the hell out of our country. We don't need a socialistic country. I believe in putting America first in all that we do. Our country is the greatest nation on earth, and it is our duty to protect and preserve the values that have made us strong. As a conservative, I believe in limited government, individual liberty, and free market principles. I believe in the power of the Constitution and the importance of upholding the rule of law. If anybody needs a pocket constitution, I have plenty of them available. I believe in the power of faith and the importance of standing up for our beliefs. I believe in the sanctity of life. Who liked the Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe v. Wade? The value of traditional marriage, the importance of religious freedom. I believe that our faith should guide our actions and decisions, both personally and politically. I am running for Congress because I believe that our district deserves a strong conservative voice in Washington. I believe we need leaders who will stand up and fight for our values and principles without compromise, who will stand up to the woke liberal agenda and defend our way of life. I believe we need leaders who will put the needs of our constituents first and who will listen to their concerns and work tirelessly to address them. My 6 top issues that I'm committed to fighting for in Washington are borders. Our borders are a mess. President Trump, when the election of 2020 was stolen, which it was, Joe Biden was selected, not elected. He had us the safest border in the history of America, and Joe Biden has let it crumble. And now you've got millions pouring in, destroying our great country. We got to secure the border. We got to secure the border and build a wall. Number 2, we must have meaningful, tough judicial reform. We can't allow any political party to abuse our judicial system going after the leading candidate, President Trump. What he's been through in the last 8 years with these witch hunts is pathetic. And these judges need to be held accountable, and they need to be removed, and they need to be put in prison for abusing their system. Yeah. And number 3, we got to balance our budget. We got to get a balanced budget amendment in place. We got to get our financial house in order. We're $35 trillion in debt. And the collapse, says Ron Paul, the dollar is going to collapse. If we don't get it together, we're gonna be in deep doo-doo down the road. We can't keep kicking the bucket down the road for future generations to do. Number 4, we got to improve education for our next generation of great Americans and solidifying parents' rights and true school choice. Number 5, we got to make President Trump's tax cuts permanent and cut taxes even further, put in more money in your pockets and all Americans. Number 6, we got to reopen the Keystone Pipeline and drill, baby, drill, just like President Trump says. We got liquid gold right under our feet, and we could be paying down that national debt. So we got to do it. We need less government regulations, must support our military. The Biden-Afghan withdrawal was a complete disgrace and embarrassment to America. And it was a disgrace that Joe Biden gave billions to Iran, who was a known state sponsor of terrorism, and they hate our top ally, Israel. We must continue to stand up for and support our veterans. I'm 100% committed to defending our Second Amendment rights and protecting the unborn. We must never allow one red cent of government money to go towards Planned Parenthood or the funding of abortion. I am humbly asking for your prayers and your support in this campaign. I'm asking for your vote so that together we can help President Trump make America great again and drain the sewer in Washington, D.C. It's not a swamp, it's a sewer. Everything comes in and nothing ever goes out. And I also pledge 2 terms, and there's 2-point reason for that. President Trump will need an army of MAGA in Washington. Otherwise, the disgusting left is going to continue their witch hunts. They're going to continue their witch hunts. They already have plans to try and impeach him in the second term. They're going to try and get rid of him. And the second, I don't believe our founding fathers envisioned career 15 to 40-year politicians. They didn't envision that. Fresh blood. Every 2 to 4 terms, get some fresh blood up in Washington. There's enough great American patriots throughout this state and the country. I've met thousands of them on the campaign trail and all over the country. That they could do this job too. They could run for office and do it. Our founding fathers had a genius system, and we need to get back to their way of doing it. But I thank you for your time and your support. God bless you. God bless South Carolina, and God bless America. If anybody wants a Constitution, just let me know, and I'll give them out. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from current South Carolina State Representative Stuart Jones, and hopefully he will introduce his staff that is with him, especially his local gal.
How's everybody doing tonight? Good. I'm State Representative Stuart Jones. It's an honor to be with you. And I'm an 8th generation native of South Carolina. I'm a Christian constitutional conservative. Everything I'm going to talk about here in a minute, the beauty of it. So 10 years ago, I decided to run for county council. And what sparked me doing that was a county councilman told me that the Constitution didn't matter. And I realized right then the problem that we have in our country, Washington is a huge problem, but it starts at the ground level, starts from the ground up. So we've got to take our country back from the ground up. So I ran for county council, defeated a 24-year incumbent. Lawrence County Council had been held by the Democrats since the beginning of local government. And that was the first time that it shifted the balance to a 4-3 Republican majority on Lawrence County Council. So I led the way with audits and so forth. I'm a small business owner. And so a lot of the things that we just do naturally in business and in our normal lives, government does not live by those same standards very often. And so if you can go to YouTube and look up the phone line to nowhere. This was a situation where I got these audits on data lines, phone lines, financials, everything. And we found a single data line in Lawrence County had not been used in a decade. And the county was paying $3,300 a month for that single line. When all was said and done, we found 21 employees that had purchasing cards, were never supposed to have them. We saved over $800,000 of waste in that audit. I led the way also with local fighting for our Constitution at the local level. So standing against gun grabs, federal gun confiscation, standing for due process. If we remember, the federal government has infringed on many of these liberties. Everybody remembers when they tried to indefinitely detain U.S. citizens without trial or jury. Under the Obama administration, under the NDAA. They've used that defense bill. I'll say this, the FISA courts that are coming after all Americans, that are wiretapping, that are warrantlessly wiretapping Americans right now and coming after our civil liberties, they've used they've used that NDAA, the defense bill, to do these things. So I ran against that for county council and was able to stand up to many of those things at the local level. It was an incredible experience. I was on there for 5 years. And then in 2019, I ran for this seat for State House District 14, covering Lawrence County. And I'll tell you, the amazing thing, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, Stuart, would you be able to pass pro-life legislation like the Heartbeat Bill, the Human Life Protection Act? Would you be able to pass constitutional carry? And I'll tell you this, we passed it multiple times on the House side before the Senate would even take it up. Hopefully this election that we've got coming up right now will help us in that regard as well. School choice is another huge example of something that we're moving the ball on in South Carolina. You may have seen some of the budget debates recently. We just got through with the budget on the House side, and it was kind of interesting. somebody asked one of the Democrat legislators, he was standing at the podium, and somebody asked him, where do tax dollars, where do you think they come from? And his response was, they come from the budget. And so there is a complete disconnect. Even though we balance our budget in South Carolina, there's a lot of waste. I voted against a lot of that waste. But here's what I'm getting at with all this. People in government do not understand money. They do not understand where real value, they don't understand sound money economics like the founding fathers tried to teach us and tried to leave with us in gold and silver and those standards. And so what Congress has done, of course, Congress taxes and spends, they borrow money from China, and then the Federal Reserve prints all these dollars, inflating the money supply and devaluing what we do have. It's going to bankrupt the country, and they are going to leave us. Our dollars are turning to pesos is what's happening. And so it's robbing every American of their buying capacity, of your ability to save money. It's not worth saving money anymore. And so all of these things, that's Bidenomics is what we call that now. I'm running to end that. I'm running, and it's simple things that we can do. Let me tell you, so I'm a big fan of the penny plan. Right now, if you could cut 6 pennies of every federal dollar in the budget, you can balance that budget in 5 years. There's also efforts to form a debt commission right now, and I'm a big proponent of that as well, to take on the debt, to figure out what we're going to do. Because if we do not, here's what's going to inevitably happen. Your dollar is worth nothing, and China owns the United States because we borrowed so much from them. They're buying up all this land in the United States. That's another thing I've done at the state level. So I have sponsored legislation that stops China from buying land in South Carolina. It's very important. Thank you. Thank you. And so last year, and I'll wrap up here, Terry, because I see you come forward. I think last time I was here, I went way over my 5 minutes. But what I want to say, the real thing, and I am a Christian, like I said, I think number one, we've got to put Christ back at the center of our country. Until we do that, guys, it's not, yes, until we do that, we are lost. Last year, my goddaughter, Maddie Hines, was hit by an illegal alien, killed by an illegal alien that T-boned their vehicle. And that situation, I did not know, nobody knew that Congressman Duncan was going to step down at the time, but I prayed about it, and the Lord is leading me to run for this position to, number one, secure our border, to stop that from happening to other people. We buried Maddie on her 4th birthday. And I got in the ambulance with her and prayed over her. She was already gone, but I prayed over her in that field that day. And I'll tell you, this man that did this was deported under President Trump. He came back under Biden. I dealt with Homeland Security, ICE through the whole situation. And when they're telling you that their hands are tied because of Joe Biden, everything he's done, Title 42, catch and release, all these programs, he's undid everything that President Trump worked so hard to do. I want to say this, I agreed with everything Phil Healy said earlier. I agreed 100% with everything he said. We have got to defend President Trump. We need MAGA, America First conservatives to represent us, people who are going to fight for us and fight for our Constitution and back President Trump. We got to get back President Trump back in there. So I'm so glad you guys are doing one thing. I wanted to say too, what you're doing with your precincts here and where the rubber meets the road, ensuring that there's not fraud at your local level. That is so important. That's so important. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, we have tried to pass in the most recent vote on closing our primaries in South Carolina, and I'm a sponsor of that bill, and I've supported every amendment, every opportunity we've had for that. The last vote was 30 of us. 30 of us voted for that. Out of 124 in your South Carolina House, there were 30 of us that voted to close the primaries. We got to do it, and so I'm hoping we can send more, I'm a member of the Freedom Caucus. I'm also a member of the Family Caucus as well. And we need people in Columbia who are going to stand up for us and push us to do the right thing. So God bless you. I want to thank you very much. And I'll talk with you again here soon. Thank you.
You want to introduce that lady back there?
Yes. Absolutely. Yes, I've got some of my crew. If you could all stand up, everybody who's working in my campaign here, I've got some awesome help. Yes, just thank you guys. Yeah, we got Nick, Wyatt, Justin, Aaron, and Talisa. Yes, I'll get your name right, Talisa. Yes, I'm sorry. So, but thank y'all so much. Have a great evening.
Yes. And then last, we have Kevin Bishop. I met Kevin basically through the wires. He was very instrumental in getting Lindsey Graham to come to the town hall that we had. So with no further ado, Mr. Bishop.
I just want to thank Mr. Healy and thank Representative Jones. Great to have everybody here. I look forward to the debate. I've heard some interesting things tonight. I think we all are pretty much in alignment, and I look forward to getting a little farther into the issues where you can hear the real differences between us. But tonight, let me tell you a little bit about me. My name is Kevin Bishop. I was born and raised in South Carolina, and for the past 25 years, Easley and Pickens have been my home. It's the kind of place where God, family, country still hold meaning. It's where Julie, my wife of 27 years, it's where we bought a house, joined a church, raised 4 wonderful children, and cheered on my Clemson Tigers. There's a lot the rest of the world can learn from places like Easley. Unfortunately, too many in Washington do not hear our voices and don't understand our values. It's why we have the most broken border in American history. If you look at my little flyer, you'll see I've been there 3 times since Joe Biden has been president. It's even worse than you can see on TV. We have rampant abuse of our asylum laws. What Joe Biden has done has been an absolute disaster on the border, and he alone is responsible for it. President Biden seems to care more about the well-being of the illegal immigrants he allows in than the New York City cops they assault. And when the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, at Eagle Pass, a place I was just at about a month ago, when he fights back, Joe Biden fights him every step of the way. And our hearts break for the family of Lake and Riley, the young nursing student not far down the road from here who was murdered by an illegal immigrant. I have 2 daughters, not much younger than Miss Riley. My heart sends a chill up my spine to think of what happened to her and that poor family. But that's not all. Under Joe Biden, we have rampant inflation. The price of gas, groceries, eating out have gone up 25%. We have an America seen as weak in the eyes of the world. And at every turn, traditional American values are under attack by woke liberals, the exact kind of people who call Leah Thomas a hero and Riley Gaines a villain. We cannot continue on this path. I am Kevin Bishop. I'm a husband, father, conservative Republican. I'll help President Trump secure our border, stop illegal immigration, build the wall, end asylum abuse, and deport the illegals Joe Biden invited in. I believe in strengthening families and protecting the unborn. I will uphold the Second Amendment and promote a strong national defense. And I will always stand with Israel. For the past 27 years, I've had a front row seat to history, working as a top aide to Lindsey Graham, all the while living and raising a family in Easley. I consider myself to be incredibly fortunate. Lindsey has been a wonderful boss and most of all, friend. But now I'm seeking a promotion, going from being an advisor to the Lindsey to the one seeking your vote. I look forward to traveling throughout the 3rd District, meeting with you, answering your questions, pointing out some of the differences between myself and the other candidates so we can make the best informed decision over who represents your values in Washington. It would be the honor of a lifetime to represent you in the 3rd Congressional District in the halls of the U.S. Capitol. I know that together and with many other across this district, this state, and this land, we will make America great again. Thank you, and God bless.
I want to thank all the candidates. Most of all, I want to appreciate everybody picking up the torch to run, because that takes courage, takes energy, it takes conviction. And I would say that most people do not understand the burden that is on an individual. So I appreciate that. I was thinking of the story, you know, where does tax money come from? The budget. Yeah, I remember asking my kids, where does money come from? They said, my wallet. So, you know, it takes a little bit of education. I guess those guys up there still haven't figured that out. All right. So thank you once again. We're on to old business. Formal county council communication regarding the current failure of the Homeland Security audit at our Pine Street Elections Office. So I'd like to open up the floor for discussion on that. If there is any, I need a motion to open up the floor for this, and then objective is that we take a vote that at the end, this executive committee would vote to send a formal letter to our county council to secure this situation at Pine Street. So got a motion up on the floor for discussion on this topic.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. I didn't get enough ayes, so it's not clear to me. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Somebody like to take this topic up first? Who'd like to be first? I need somebody to support it. Or I need somebody to speak against it. Or do we need to take it off the agenda? Ms. Myring.
Well, I think it's important that we look at everything on a national level, and we're upset, you know, about voter security. I think it's important that we here locally have our office secure. So I think it's important that council do whatever it takes so that we pass our Homeland Security audit.
Okay, that's an argument for. Do I have an argument against? Mr. Wagner?
I don't know if this is against or not,
Okay.
but we're talking about sending a formal letter to county council. So is this asking us to give someone the authority to send a letter, or do we want to vote on a letter once it's written?
Thank you for clarification. I think to do that, we would draft the letter, and then probably that letter would need to be approved. But this right now is we're going to agree or disagree that we draft the letter. Okay?
But we will vote on the draft.
Yeah, we'll vote on the draft. Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Haney?
So for clarification, you have some individuals stating that it failed to audit.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have members of the council and also of the staff at the county stating that we did not fail to audit, that they pointed out a few items for improvement. So what documentation do we have that states they failed to audit?
Good question, Mr. Haney. I think I'll take that one up myself. Okay, the documentation cannot be provided. When we had Mr. Murray here, and we also had, I can't remember her name, Laura? Christy here. They can't provide that information because it's considered it's considered compromising to the situation if they provide that information. It was clarified by Mr. Murray and Mrs. Bird that they failed at least 2 times. So they have failed at least twice. Do we have anything in writing? No, but I trust what they have to say. Mr. Adams?
County council, been supporting the election, or registration elections often pretty well. The current budget we're in, have 29% increase for that department. Since 2020, that department budget has increased 67%. So the present council, previous council, from what I see, have done a good job of supporting this office. The confidentiality you mentioned. It's hard to really debate anything when you can't have transparency on it. I myself have been through multiple audits by federal agencies over the years. OSHA, OFCCP, EEOC, state, DHEC. They come, and it's their job to find something. If they don't find something, they go back. Their managers are not going to be happy with it. And they also like to find enough to pay for their visit to come to see you. I really don't think this is necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. That's an argument
Let me
against,
finish.
like, your time limit's up. That's why I said
Okay.
thank you.
It's not necessary.
Thank you.
Overkill.
Mr. Bond?
So I received some communication with Amanda Brock. I asked some questions. And I asked her what the county council actually knew about these failures or areas of improvement or whatever semantics we want to use. And she said she received the assessment notes on the 24th of April, the second time, 2023 from Ms. Burr. And she said she did not share the document, but rather a verbal overview with the council. Of course, of notation, she has never shared a security assessment of any county facility with council out of an abundance of caution to ensure that documents remain secure. She works closely with the sheriff's office team members to address security assessments, reports, and improvements. But those matters have never been shared. So I don't think council knows what they're really up against, according to Ms. Brock.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bond. Anybody has an argument for it? I have one against.
That argument was for.
I believe that was an argument for that.
If they don't know what they
His argument was,
need to improve.
Mr. Haney, his argument was basically saying she validated that she got the information and it needs to be improved. And it's none of our business really what needs to be approved. That's up to the council. We would agree that. Yes.
If this office needs more money, they ought to request it from council. I think this is premature. If we don't have any information, there's nothing really we can say.
Okay. Anybody want to speak to the question from Mr. Wagner?
I'll be glad to. About a year ago, the discussion was about equipment security. And they do not have the facilities to secure the equipment. That is the biggest issue. And I'd say a year or so ago, there was a request made for more money to build another facility, and that didn't go noticed. It's about equipment security. There's equipment, voting equipment left in the wide open.
Where is it now?
I don't know. I mean, I really, that's what was discussed a while back. A year ago.
So I would say we don't have all the information we need. But the question I think is, do we want to encourage the council to do something or not? Robbie Ann?
If you do send a letter such as you're talking about, you have to have certain demands. What are you going to demand?
To meet the Homeland Security audit recommendations. That would be virtually the letter. Because we don't know. We're just asking them to conform with the requirements.
Mr. Chairman, it's very understandable why they can't be specific about what it is. We have weaknesses, and if we publish those weaknesses, then somebody can take advantage of it. At some point, we have to trust somebody with the information. And I trust Mr. Murray on a lot of the specifics. And you're absolutely right. It's a problem. That building at 415 South Pine is open to the public. People come and go through there all the time. And they're trying to do early voting in there and all that stuff. And it's just, we're asking for a problem.
Thank you, Mr. Music. This will be your last comment, Mr. Vaughn.
That's fine. I'm just going to read this from Ms. Brock again. I asked during the panel questions, when I went to the League of Women Voters to hear our elections officer people talk. I asked, I said, during the panel questions, it was stated that there was funding opportunity that would have addressed every one of the election security issues facing Oconee County. And why was that taken off the table? And she said, during the months of discussion regarding the construction of an annex facility located at the Pine Street place, there several funding mechanisms were discussed, including bonding, long-term lease, specialized contract, and direct funding. This discussions were held in the Real Estate Facilities Management Land Management Committee meetings. The proposed annex would not only address the security shortcomings for voter registration and elections, but would also provide for on-site document storage, archives, security enhanced council chambers, office spaces. She said, we're pretty tight in the main building as it is right now, and the general meeting space. The plan also included a future build-out plan in the event we'd ever like to include a drive-through for the auditor's office, to complement the current drive-through for the treasurer's office.
You got 10 seconds, Mr. Bond.
Right. Anyway, the annex proposal was an estimated $3.7 million. But keep in mind, that was an estimation based off the conceptual drawings, not engineered, and not an actual bid amount. So they did talk about a solution, and it never went anywhere.
Okay. Thank you for that information. Mr. Hain?
Yes, so I hear failed and I hear room for improvement. I make a motion that we reach out to those who are responsible for our election integrity and ask them, has anything improved on that? Have they taken care of those issues? And was it a failure or was it just items that needed improvement?
So you have a motion. We have a motion, and do I have a second for that
I'll
motion?
second that.
Second for Mr. Wagner. All right. So any discussion on this particular motion that's made? I have a statement to make regarding that. When we all should have a statement that we're here to hear Mrs. Burr and Mr. Murray speak on that point. It was very clear we failed it. It wasn't opportunity for improvement, OFI. It wasn't that. We failed it. So we don't know how we failed it, but Ms. Lillian?
I believe that whether we failed it or whether there is an opportunity for improvement, we have to do one or the other. I mean, if you fail, the opportunity to improve is to pass, or if you've got a few issues, you still have an opportunity to improve. So, we should at least ask them to improve.
Okay.
I mean, there needs to be something they need to do. Obviously, there is a problem. So whatever that problem is, whether it's a failure or just something that's not up to speed, it needs to be fixed.
So the clarification on my motion, it did mention asking them if there's failures or improvements have been done. See, we don't know if that's been corrected or not.
Yes, we do know that, Mr. Haney. When they came and spoke, they said very clearly it had not been corrected.
So we don't know what it is.
I think we can look at the minutes and they just made the statement
We don't know
that.
what it is,
No.
but we don't know it's been corrected.
No, we do know that it has not been corrected. Okay. All right. Any more discussion on this point? I need somebody to call a question. I'm going to let Mr. Adams speak.
Mr. Murray was here. We talked about the audit. If you remember, he said his greatest concern was not the audit. His greatest concern was up to 3,000 absentee ballots that were mailed out by the all county office. And they didn't have a clue who really cast that ballot. But to him, that was a great concern. He said that was his greatest concern. So to me, that puts this, what we're talking about, to the second level under that.
Well, I agree, but we all know that that's controlled by the state election commission and not the county election commission. Okay. Yes, Tony?
I'd like to dovetail with what Ronnie was saying about Amanda Brock. She was given all these illustrations of what was asked of county council. Well, it sounded like there was a lot of pork in that, and county council wasn't going to go with it. So if we have a problem with election integrity and they fail, county council needs to know what does and address those specific issues to put money toward that. And so until they can get what failed so they can apply the money to it, I think that should be some choice or some method in our letter to county council. Somebody there has to know. I mean, I understand the secrecy, but if you got a lot of pork inside your request to get these done, county council is like, this is money, so they're not looking at what needs to be done to be corrected.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Call the question.
Who? Okay, you gonna call a question? Okay, I need a 2/3 vote to call. This is on Mickey's amended motion, right? All right, 2/3 vote to end the discussion. All in favor of calling the question, raise your hand. All right, I must say from the chair's perspective, that's the majority. All right, we called the question, we end the discussion on Mickey's. Now we're back to the original. Do we send a letter or not?
Well, we got to vote.
What's that? We got to vote on it. Okay, sorry. Thank you. All right, so all in favor of Mickey's?
Can you please summarize it so that it's a single,
Let's see if I get this. I make a motion that we send a letter to those that are in charge of election integrity and ask them, well, first ask them for clarification of whether it's a failure or room for improvement, and has any grounds been made on correcting those issues. That'll give us a leg to stand on. But right now, we're shooting in the dark.
All right, so there's the motion on the floor. Okay, all in favor of the motion as stated? Kathy, do you have it? Oh yeah, I know we've got it on recording. All right, all in favor of the motion as stated, please let it be known by raising your right hand. Now, this is not the original motion. Are we all clear on that? Okay, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a majority. I'm gonna say that's a majority. So we are going to send a letter asking for clarification, correct? And this chairman does not agree with that because I think everybody that was here heard that it was a failure. All right, we didn't need clarification. We needed to move forward, but the executive committee has voted, and I'm not in agreement with it, but I respect the decision of the committee. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can we define the folks that are in charge of that as the county council? Well, just send that letter to them.
I heard it as the election commission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we voted on it.
Yes, we did vote on it. I played neutral until it was said and done. That's what the chairman's supposed to do. All right. Adoption of the new resolution process. Rachel passed it out. I, as a chairman, would rather we didn't have any discussion on this and we just all agreed to adopt it. All right. So I'd like a motion in that direction if we could do that. Mr. Mike.
I make a motion to adopt it as
Written. Do I have a second? Crystal? Second?
Clarification,
Yes, sir.
I need the definition that says a meeting. Is that a face-to-face meeting? Is that a Zoom meeting? What is the definition of meeting?
whatever y'all decide.
Okay, so it's up to the precinct.
Absolutely.
Good enough.
Okay, that's a point of information. Okay, so we have a second on the floor to adopt it as written. Open for discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I think it was probably 3 or 4 meetings back. And I think Josh is the one that brought up the motion that all resolutions be given to us in time so we can bring them to precinct. So therefore, I asked to postpone the table list of the next meeting until we're able to allow our precincts to review this and see if they're good with it.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a second for Mr. Wagner. So I have a motion to postpone approval of this resolution process, and I have a second to postpone approval of this resolution process. Any discussion on that? No, hearing no discussion, we'll put it to a vote to postpone until the next meeting so you have time to take it to your precincts. All right. How many people in your precinct? Just questioning.
How many people? 12.
Okay, 12 people in that precinct. All right.
Does it matter?
Yes, it does. All right. All right. All in favor of postponing until you can take it to your precincts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 in favor. All opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Carries by 1 vote, taking it to the.
We don't have,
we've got 26 votes present, and you just called 23.
Yeah, and we would need 13 for it to pass, or whatever.
You want to retake the vote?
Unless we take the vote.
All right, we'll retake the vote. All in favor of taking it back to your precincts, raise your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, but motion carries. Going back to the precincts. Yes, new business is next.
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we have a lady who drove all the way from Charleston to speak on behalf. And I'm not going to ask her to come back again next month, so could she be granted 5 minutes to speak on this topic?
Second. Okay, all in favor? Any discussion? That's majority in the eyes of the chair. Okay, CXC resignations and elections.
Mr. Chair, could we let her speak now so she can get a head start on getting her?
So we want to move the CXC resignations and elections until after the Stamp Creek resolution? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, we're not.
Because Charles has to speak too.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to split it up. Okay?
Okay.
All right, we're just going to flip flop A and B around. Okay, who wants to flip on who goes first? Charles, you're going to be the gentleman and let the lady go first? Okay. All right, Jill?
I was gonna say, he can go first because it would be easier for me to respond because I don't really know what his position is.
Okay.
That's okay.
Charles, you good with that? Doug, you want to introduce him?
Sure. Our subject matter expert on this is Mr. Charles Lutz, is retired DEA special agent, and he's in the executive capacity before he retired. And he did the yeoman's work of writing up this resolution. I'll turn it over my time to Mr. Lutz. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug, and ladies and gentlemen. The Compassionate Care Act is not about medicine. It is a pathway to its recreational use. It was a strategy developed by George Soros and his Drug Policy Alliance to ultimately legalize all drugs, starting with medical marijuana through recreational, and it's actually working. 38 states have already legalized medical marijuana. The majority of the 38 have already moved on to recreational marijuana, and even some of those states have moved on to decriminalizing drugs like heroin, fentanyl, and the like. The Compassionate Care Act claims that it can treat a variety of illnesses, but not one respected national medical association agrees. For example, the American Cancer Society says more research is needed. Yes, there are drugs derived from cannabis. For example, there's a drug that reduces nausea and increases appetite for chemotherapy patients, but it's available by prescription. We don't need new legislation. The National Multiple Sclerosis Society says there is insufficient data to recommend marijuana to MS victims. The American Medical Association and the Veterans Administration agree that marijuana not only does no good for post-traumatic stress disorder, but can actually cause the sufferers more harm. While preliminary studies show that CBD oil may actually help certain autism spectrums, CBD oil can be purchased without prescription in South Carolina. We don't need new legislation for that. And there is no evidence that marijuana treats pain, for which a majority of medical marijuana card holders seek to have the use of marijuana. In clinical trials at Harvard Medical School, placebos work just as well as marijuana. You know, when California legalized medical marijuana, the first state to do so, the typical card holder was a white male, 35 years of age, with no history of serious illnesses, but a history of drug and or alcohol abuse. I think we can expect the same results here in South Carolina. Now, the latest version of the Compassionate Care Act actually bans smoking it, but law enforcement will be the first to tell you that once a user receives his marijuana, there is no way possible to keep them from smoking it. Instead, the law would allow the marijuana to be vaped. The American Lung Association says vaping anything is harmful to the lungs. Vaping CBD oil is already a fad among young people. And there have been many promises broken. States have not realized the tax revenue windfalls, often not enough to regulate the industry. Organized crime has not gone away. In fact, there's been such an increase in demand that it's created a windfall for them. They can sell it cheaper. They don't pay taxes. In Michigan, for example, the medical marijuana dispensary owners, actually the marijuana dispensary owners, complain that the majority of marijuana is being sold in the back alleys. Well, no wonder. An eighth of an ounce of marijuana at a dispensary costs $80. You can buy an eighth of an ounce of marijuana on the street for $20. Even China has gotten into the act. Illegal immigrants have been arrested at hundreds of marijuana grows in California, Oklahoma, and Washington with ties back to China. And guess what? In China, marijuana is illegal. They are no fools. When Colorado legalized medical marijuana, crime increased 7 times the national average. Marijuana-related automobile accidents doubled. Absenteeism and shoddy workmanship rose. But the real harm was done to their children. In Colorado, its use among youth increased to twice the national average. School suspensions and dropout rates increased. Studies show that marijuana, whether the smoke from marijuana, whether from smoking it or vaping it, even secondhand smoke, lessens cognitive ability and permanently lowers the IQs of adolescents. Other studies attribute the recent rise in schizophrenia, psychoses, and suicide to marijuana use by young people, particularly young women. I say let's learn from others' mistakes. Let's not allow South Carolina to start down the road to a drug culture, a stupefying of our citizens, and a dumbing down of our youth. Please pass this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jill.
I'm just gonna give her bio real quick because nobody knows her.
Okay.
Oops. Jill Swing is the founder and president of South Carolina Compassionate Care Alliance, which is a patients' rights organization which provides education about the benefits of medical cannabis and how to become an advocate for safe legal access. Jill's daughter suffers from uncontrolled epilepsy. Jill first began advocating for medical cannabis in 2014 when she learned how cannabis was being used to successfully decrease seizures in children in legal states. She and her organization have led the charge in supporting the South Carolina Compassionate Care Act, which is the comprehensive medical cannabis bill currently being considered by the South Carolina General Assembly. And again, all the way from Charleston, Jill Swing. How do you make this thing stay still? It doesn't? Okay.
I will work my way through the microphone. We got it. Okay. First of all, I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak and address this important issue, and for Terry for reaching out to me to provide this kind of information. So a little bit about myself very briefly. I am from Charleston. I have 16-year-old boy-girl twins. My daughter, Mary Louise, has severe intractable epilepsy, which she has had since she was a young baby. We've tried a multitude of medications. We've taken her to see specialists up and down the East Coast. We have tried special diets, therapies. Nothing has been successful in treating her seizures. And when I say she has a severe seizure disorder, at one point she was having 800 to 1,000 seizures a day. So this is something that has a profound impact on her life. So in 2013, we saw this Sanjay Gupta story called Weed, where a little girl out in Colorado was being treated using cannabis to help alleviate her symptoms of her life-threatening seizures. And at that point, our physician, or her neurologist at MUSC said, we really don't have any other options. So I think it's something worth looking into. Now, because of that special, a lot of parents like myself became alerted to the potential benefits of cannabis, something I never would have dreamed of or thought of or even considered. But if there's something that can be of benefit, sure, at that point, we're willing to look into it. So my mother-in-law lived in Beaufort, and had a mutual friend with Senator Davis, was telling him about her granddaughter, my daughter, and he introduced the first CBD bill. So that was introduced in 2014 in honor of my daughter. That bill passed, and of course, I thought that's how the legislative process just worked. You introduce a bill, it passes, and lives are changed. Well, unfortunately, what that bill did was it allowed possession only. It didn't provide us with a safe, reliable source, because at that time, CBD was still considered a controlled substance, just like marijuana. And that was changed because of the federal farm bill in 2018. But in the meantime, what that did, because we didn't have a safe, reliable source for CBD, it forced moms like me with chronically ill children onto the black market. So we formed a network of parents, and we were going through the black market, getting cannabis, CBD oil for our children that we could legally possess within our state, but we couldn't cross state lines in order to obtain it because, again, federally illegal, we would have been considered drug traffickers. But we, like I said, we worked through this network and we were able to obtain CBD oils. The unfortunate thing was we didn't even know, we had no idea what was in them. We didn't know whether they were even fit for human consumption, let alone whether they would have any therapeutic benefits for our kids. And this is scary. Like, my daughter's nonverbal. She wouldn't be able to tell me if something made her not feel well, or, whatever potential side effects could be there. So I immediately learned that what we needed was safe, regulated cannabis products within our state. And unfortunately, just because of the federal laws, every state is an island on this issue. So I started working on the comprehensive medical cannabis bill in 2015. And I've been working on that ever since then. I do have, I've worked very closely with Senator Davis in drafting a lot of the language that's in the bill. So, and I don't know if there's time for discussion or questions or whatever, but I certainly have a lot of firsthand knowledge about what is actually in the bill, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding. The other thing is, and no offense to Mr. Lutz, but I find it hurtful and offensive that you say that this is not about medicine, because it is. I've watched my daughter suffer. I actually took her to Maine so we could get, in 2016, so we could have legal access to medical cannabis under a doctor's care, because I didn't want to use things that I didn't know whether, I wanted things that were controlled, that were safe, that were tested by a laboratory, that were regulated. And again, I wanted a physician on board who could help advise us. Now, in addition to that, and y'all, I'm sorry to get emotional, but my mom just died of cancer, and that's why I had to go from Charleston to Aiken here today, because I'm trying to get her house ready to put on the market. And my mom died a horrible death. And nobody should have to suffer like that when we know that there is something out there that could be given and administered to patients in a time of need. Now, my brother was there. He just moved from California to Arizona, 2 legal states, and he would not allow me to give our mother cannabis. I mean, first of all, ironically, I don't know where I would get it. I laughed at and said my 16-year-old son could probably get it quicker than I could. But she died a horrible death. She was nauseous. She couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. She was in pain. And those are all conditions. And again, the NIH is very clear that there are certain conditions for which there is empirical data that demonstrates that cannabis can be of benefit. And among those, the top ones are chronic pain, nausea and vomiting due to cancer, and symptoms of spasticity due to MS. And those were things that you specifically recognized as things that are not beneficial. So there's obviously a disconnect. And I think the challenge with studies and data is you can extrapolate pretty much anything you want from a study to have it fit your argument. And I've got a list of data and studies that demonstrate that youth use has not increased, that traffic fatalities have not increased specifically because of marijuana use. And the list goes on of things that can be refuted based on studies, not my information or my belief, but specific studies that I can cite, and I'd be happy to share with any of you. But anyway, our bill is very unique. It's been vetted through the committee process for years with input from all sorts of stakeholders, including law enforcement, including the Medical Association, just a multitude of input from various organizations. And our bill is a solid bill. It is a regulated bill. And we do some unique things in our bill that I think are very, very special. And I can get into that a little bit, but, we're not talking about, some of the points in the resolution are either not factual or they don't pertain to the actual bill. There are a lot of references to full legalization. Nobody is talking about legalizing marijuana for adult use, recreational use, whatever you want to call it. This is a very narrowly crafted piece of legislation that is specific to medicine. The comment about law enforcement not knowing what to do with smoking, it can't be smoked, but they can't control what anybody does in their own home. Well, okay, you can't control what anybody does in their own home now, but it's not just that smoking isn't permitted. There's no flower, so there's nothing to smoke. So anyway, I could go on, but I'll wait till we have questions because I know I'm running out of time.
All right, thank you. So I'd ask Charles, you stay up here too. So as part of the discussion, I think including both of you to come up here to answer questions would probably be good for the committee because I don't know, maybe we have some in here that are speaking from experience, but I wouldn't know. So I'd like to open the floor up for discussion on this particular resolution. Do I have a motion? Mickey, have a second? All in favor? All right. Floor is open for discussion and questions, including with Jill and Charles.
I got a question that's more for you or the staff. Can y'all get the information from them where they're pulling the data points from so that we can do our research?
That would be what you gave me?
Yeah. I mean, and I apologize, mine is a little bit disorganized because I had a few different folks helping me with the studies, so.
But I'll be happy to get more.
And we can distribute those.
Some of them, but I already went
Nikki.
about.
And obviously on the printed version, the links aren't gonna link. So if anybody wants me to email that so that they can click on the links and see the actual studies, I can do sign up sheet, email sheet.
We just got the information today, so Terry just printed it out. We didn't have time to distribute. So, but yes, we can.
What about the
I think Charles would provide the same information, correct? So she's going to provide information based on her position. You'd be willing to provide information based on your position. Yeah. So we can send both out.
Email through the EC?
Yes, I don't think I do have the email. Terry,
Yes.
Charles, I
I'll
don't,
send what Jill sent me to Kathy. I'll
Okay.
just send that out.
and Charles can then distribute to us too as well, and then we'll pass it around. Okay. All right, to answer that question, that's done. All right, let's open the floor for discussion or questions related to the resolution and also the subject matter experts that we have with us tonight. Mickey?
So I have a question. I noticed that Charles had stated that there are medications out there that has the cannabis in them. And I'm assuming that you're stating that that medication either is not performing the same or is not available in South Carolina. Which one is it?
So not performing the same. So the two specific references were Marinol. Marinol is synthesized pure THC. THC is the component of the cannabis plant that creates the high. And so.
Can y'all hear her fine?
Oh,
Yeah,
let me-
Yes,
I
step up
can-
here.
I'm sorry. So just to repeat that, so there are two substances that are available by prescription. One is Marinol. Marinol is pure synthesized THC. So it is chemically derived. It's not plant derived. And THC is the component of the marijuana plant that creates the high, which for patients, that's not really a desired effect. And so that is a side effect that a lot of patients experience when they're taking just straight THC, whereas there are literally hundreds of components of a cannabis plant that provide additional benefits and also help balance and sort of counteract the effects of the THC. Epidiolex is the other one. Epidiolex is plant derived, but it is extrapolated and it is pure CBD. There's no other cannabinoids in it. And the beauty of the plant medicine is that all of those components of the plant interact to provide more effective medicine. So there have been studies done comparing patients using the Epidiolex pure CBD versus whole plant CBD rich medication. And there is like a 30 to 40% higher efficacy for whole plant CBD versus pure synthesized CBD. My own daughter took the Epidiolex for a while, and her seizures actually increased when we took her off of the CBD and the whole plant CBD and put her on Epidiolex. The other thing is okay, yes, it's available now, but do you really want to go buy medicine for your sick child at a gas station? I mean, there's absolutely zero regulation on CBD. In fact, I've been working with a lot of hemp farmers and trying to get some sort of CBD regulation bill in the state of South Carolina because the whole thing is rampant. And, you see these, CBD stores popping up all over town and, they look like pot shops, I mean, that's not at all, that is not medicine in my view. We also want it controlled by a doctor. We want a physician's input. So that's my take on at least the two things that are, or technically three, because I'm saying the other CBD things that are currently available.
Thank you. Charles, do you have anything to say to that?
Well, I mean, I agree, as I've said in my remarks, that there are medicines derived from the cannabis plant, Marinol, Epidiolex for epilepsy treatment, and they are available by prescription from a doctor today. We don't need new legislation for that. I do agree that CBD oil is the market is totally unregulated, and the Food and Drug Administration recommends that it only be used, even topographically, under a doctor's supervision. But obviously, in South Carolina, you can buy it over the counter. So I don't know what other questions you might have in that regard, but I don't dispute the fact that cannabis can have some impact. In fact, I hear of these anecdotal stories all the time about people, telling me, well, my father had pain, and the only thing that helped him was marijuana. And I don't dispute that, but I'm just saying that what's at stake here is not just taking care of ourselves. You know, we have hundreds of painkillers. In fact, I read somewhere recently that the United States consumes 85% of all of the painkillers produced in the world. Think about that. And now here we're asking for another painkiller. Surely there's something available that could treat just about everything. But again, it's the collateral damage that I think we need to be concerned about, and that is the harm to our children.
Okay, thank you, Charles. All right. Yes, Evie?
Just so I understand, we're talking here like this, Marinol, are those not pills? Marinol?
It can be a liquid or a pill.
Okay, because I know my sister just died from cancer, and she had thrush very bad, could not take pills, couldn't swallow them, couldn't even have them broken down. And so she was given the liquid, the oil or whatever, and that helped her. So I'm saying if this bill is written as well as you say it is, and it's only by prescription by doctor, and you can only get it in a pharmacy or something, my God, why wouldn't we give these people the opportunity? There's a lot of people that take painkillers, and I think they're addicted on because they want to be. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying, you know, we've got to be able to be compassionate to people that need it and can't take pills and can't get it in this way. It sounds like this bill is written very carefully, what you're telling us, which I have no reason to think otherwise. It's just my opinion.
Thank you, Evie. That's what we're here to hear. I'm gonna let Lil go. Lil, and then Bruce, and then I'll get to you.
And if this bill is passed and is written as well as you say it is, then wouldn't it mean that people would be able to file this on their insurance and they would be able to pay less for it? Like instead of going out on the street and buying something, that you would actually be able to file it on your insurance. It wouldn't cost you as much.
So unfortunately, we can't require the insurance company. Sorry. Unfortunately, we can't require, meaning the state government, can't require insurance companies to cover the expense of the cannabis. So it is an out-of-pocket expense. One thing that I've looked at that a couple of states have done is they have started allowing Medicaid to pay for the doctor's visits. We're not there. We have a big fight in our state already over our Medicaid benefits, so I can't add to that, but some states have done that. But again, because of the disconnect between what's happening federally and what's happening on the state level, insurance companies can't actually pay for the expense.
Thank you. Oh,
But not directly related to insurance, but because marijuana is illegal federally, it's basically a cash business. So, and I suppose that has something to do with the insurance coverage, but it's a cash business, which is obviously subject to robbery and you know, a lot of the increase in crime related to its sales.
Thank you. Bruce, question?
I'm not advocating anybody go out and get them a bag. Roll them up a blunt. My wife has severe migraines. You ever had a migraine, sir?
Yes.
Severe, that will put you on your butt, and you have to go to the doctor to get some of that FDA-approved medicine to put you to sleep. Okay? I ain't telling you that she goes out and smokes a blunt. My brother-in-law had cancer. He smoked dope. He growed his dope. But he would tell you, he said, this is my Xanax. He didn't take pills. But he would take a toke or two off of his blunt, and all his pain was gone away. medical marijuana, whatever you call it, I believe it should be something that we have a choice, not acting as fool people. I'm not a fool. God didn't make no fool. But I believe that we should have a choice in saying, hey, I don't want your mama suffering. Give her some of this. Make her a cookie.
Thank you, Bruce. I believe,
Are they voting on
Yes,
this
take-
legislation anytime soon?
yes, it's in the middle of it right now. You want to give us, you can give us an update where that's at.
Yeah, so I can give a quick update. It passed through the Senate and we are awaiting House subcommittee. I think they're waiting until after election filing, and then it'll probably be taken up first week of April in the House.
Good question, Tate.
Senate Bill 5-1.
No, 423. It's Senate Bill 423.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you're right.
So it is in discussion and debate right now.
Sorry. Wrong head.
Who else did I see? Crystal?
I just kind of want to make a comment question.
Uh-huh.
So you're saying that people are taking marijuana and they can go and buy it on the street, causing a big uproar. What about these people who are prescribed the fentanyl and the morphine and everything else, and they're taking that and selling that? So not only are half of them getting it for free because they're on Medicaid or something else and it is approved through them, but then they're making money off of it. We're paying for their Medicaid already, and then we're paying for their prescriptions, and then their prescriptions are then furthering them to be able to go and buy whatever else they want. And not only that, but methadone has become a national problem. And yet you've got people out there who used to be hooked on heroin who now get methadone for free because there's so many clinics, and there's many of doctors that have opened up those clinics. I know one personally who went and opened up a methadone clinic. So now we're paying for the Medicaid for them. We're paying for the Medicaid for the methadone. So it's increasing our tax dollars that are going out on these other drugs. But yet you've got marijuana, which is not addictive. It has been proven to be not addictive. They may call it a gateway drug, but it is not addictive. But you've got fentanyl, you've got heroin, you've got all of these other things that are addictive and have that addictive quality, but we're not concerned about that. That just confuses me a little bit as to, are we not concerned about those?
Carl?
I would rather have something natural than have something that's been made synthetically in a lab.
Well, all I can say is the Food and Drug Administration says that it is addictive.
Josh? Did you have some?
Yeah.
Just a jail, but the Food and Drug Administration also says that home cured meats that's fed this country for 200 years ain't safe for human consumption.
Spam?
So I don't believe a damn thing that
Josh, I would just add to that NIH told us that COVID vaccines were safe and effective. And that's the same group that has said marijuana is safe and effective, right? And I don't give a crap what they say, they still lie. Okay, so with you with the FDA, I'm with the NIH because they're a political organization that coerces people to do the things that they want done in society. Plain and simple.
Thank you.
I was just going to respond to, and I'm sorry, your name is
Crystal.
Is Proxy right now. Miss Proxy. So again, like I said, I helped with a lot of the language in this bill. And I've lived it, breathed it, researched it, looked at what states have done well, what other states haven't done. There are some things that are very unique in our bill. One thing is we keep talking about chronic pain, and we are a country in pain. We are a country that consumes a lot of pain medicine, I think to our detriment. But one of the unique things that our bill does is it doesn't list chronic pain as, and chronic pain is one of the main conditions that cannabis is used for across the country. That's because it encompasses so many different conditions, right? So a lot of conditions cause pain. But one unique thing that our bill does that I think is really important, because I interact with a lot of moms like myself who have kids who we're moms. And anyway, I've heard these stories so many times about these moms come in and they say, my child was in had a sports accident at school, and they were prescribed opioids after their post-surgery for their pain. They became addicted to those opioids. Their prescription ran out. They turned to the street to get street prescription drugs that people were selling because they had an excess, because they're, overprescribed anyway. And then all of a sudden, they run out of that, or then they have access to other things and they end up dying of a heroin overdose, or God knows fentanyl now is so detrimental. So I listened to those moms, and my heart goes out to my child is suffering, but she's still alive. So I get it. So our bill is very unique. We're the only state in the country where we provide, it's not chronic pain, it's an opioid substitute. So the bill says that it can be recommended by a physician for any condition for which an opioid is typically prescribed in a normal course of treatment. So you know what that does? It prevents that kid from having an opioid addiction that they can get, after taking it a week from coming home from the hospital. It gives them an opportunity, again, under a doctor's, supervision, parents' oversight, but it gives them an opportunity to use something that is safer and potentially even more effective, but at least as effective, and it's monitored. So anyway, I just wanted to speak to that because there is an opportunity for a reduction in harm for individuals who are getting hooked on opioids, to stop that before it even starts.
Thank you. Mike?
Yeah, just one quick. So, I lived in Seattle at the time when Washington State made this exact same arguments you're making, right? This is only going to be a medical bill, right? So they passed medical marijuana. Shortly thereafter, people that got medical marijuana were selling it on the streets to other folks that wanted to have marijuana, okay? The drug epidemic became worse and worse because people got used to having drugs out in the street, okay? And Washington State and Oregon right now are a mess. Oregon in particular, because they now have allowed heroin and everything else available. So I've seen it firsthand where this is a gateway to legalization across the board.
Okay,
So
thank you. I'll get you, Jason, right after Rainey.
So I've got a lot of veteran friends that suffer from PTSD, chronic pain, and a lot of things. We go to the VA and we get a real big bag of medicine that completely destroys our guts. And I just went through a bout of diabetes from October last year to January of this year. And this metformin thing that was prescribed and FDA approved and all that was just wrecking me. But I found that I could use turmeric and berberine and a couple other things, get the same effects from that I couldn't, that metformin tried to give me, but it gave me all that GI intestinal pain. I went to the pharmacist at the VA to discuss that. And she said, well, none of that stuff is regulated and the FDA doesn't know anything about it. Well, why didn't the FDA do something to look at holistic, non-Western medicine so that people who are suffering can have the treatment that they need?
Thank you, Ray. Jason?
I graduated in 2001, and since then I've probably couldn't count on my hands and toes how many people I went to school with are no longer with us from taking pain medication. So I think this is an alternative to that.
Okay, thank you. David?
Folks, a lot of you in here know my wife is an amputee. Okay, she lost her leg on August the 2nd, 2019, at approximately 12:10 on Bounty Land Road, riding a bicycle, trying to test riding a bicycle when she was hit from behind by a pickup truck, and the guy was on his damn cell phone. Okay, she lost her left leg, all right? It was almost fatal. If it hadn't been for a student nurse named Carrie Beth that stopped, because we think that driver was going to try to run. She stopped and put a tourniquet on her leg, and she had to be life flighted to Greenville, where she stayed in ICU for 14 days and inside the hospital for 45 days. Okay, and I went there every day. Well, she's come a long way, all right? And I mean, praise God and the doctors that have talent on loan from God that took care of her. But she still has severe phantom things, and they are bad. And just this Monday morning, she woke up squalling because she was having these pains. The only thing that she has for that pain is damn OxyContin. And she is absolutely scared she was a nurse. She was an orthopedic nurse, and she is absolutely scared to death to take that stuff. I was on the phone with Jim Monday morning to go get something for her, some sort of rub on her knee. Well, once she got hurt, she joined up with an amputee support group that is a nationwide amputee support group. And in states that are allowed medical grade, doctor administered marijuana, those folks are not having to take OxyContin. They're able to take this stuff to relieve this phantom pain. Now, when the pain gets so severe that she is squalling at night, and she'll just take one OxyContin, but we know it's going to take two to kill the pain, but she will not take that second. And I'm hearing mothers dying, I'm hearing all this stuff. I'm willing, if I could go get some medical grade through a doctor prescription to get that pain out of that lady's leg in the middle of the night, I would do anything for that. Now, that's my story, and that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. I think we're getting close to our time, so I'd like someone to, and I would say this is an urgent matter. I know Stamp Creek pushed it through quick, and it's in the middle of discussion and debate in the General Assembly. So I think it's an urgent matter. I respect what Mickey had to say about let's get data out, but I think we need to decide as an executive committee, what are we going to do with this resolution? That's my input on it. So I'd like a motion to.
I don't know if I have to do this, I don't know if it's a motion, but it seems to me in the urgency of what's going on here, rather than take a vote here, everybody should just call their representative and tell them how to vote.
Okay, I would say that's in the form of a motion.
The only thing I got to say, I don't want to vote for my precinct because they're not going to have their voice in it. And I know urgency and it came out late. But I'd really like to go for the precinct before I take it upon myself.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tate. Thank you, Evie. All right.
Second her motion.
All right. So Robbie Ann seconding the motion from Evie to everybody individually take it up with your precincts and let them call their representatives. In this case, it's in the Senate, right? It's already gone through the.
It's out of the Senate.
Out of the
and
Senate.
It would be in the House.
So it's in the House. So we all know who those guys are, right? Yes, Jason.
It's the Senate bill that is crossed over to the House, so it's the same number. It's 423. So if you do a bill search in the State House website, you can just put in 423. Or if you're going to call your representative, you can use Senate Bill 423, and it's called the Compassionate Care Act, or you can say the marijuana bill. They're going to know what it is.
Yeah, the committee that it's in is the Medical, Military, Municipal, and Public Affairs Committee.
Okay, Jason.
So do we know this is going to be voted on before the next meeting? Next month?
Our next
When is your next meeting?
our next meeting is the 18th of April.
We can vote on the resolution. Yes. And
Yeah.
then call your representative.
It'll be in the process. Session ends the second Thursday in May, so it'll be in process. I don't think it'll be quite to the floor yet.
When's the next state EC meeting that the resolution will be read?
Terry, when is the next state EC meeting?
June.
June, so.
So it would have passed before we could get this resolution to the state.
Well, not all resolutions necessarily have to go to the state. I mean, if this is something we just want to keep in the county, we can just do that as well.
And move it and push it forward. So next,
Yeah, I I think we ought to vote on it tonight. I think it's a cowardly thing to just wait and see and let everybody call their own representative. I think we need to vote on it as a group. I may not agree with what the vote results are, but I think there's two pathways. I think there's the party pathway. I think there's the individual pathway, and we should maximize the effect of what we're doing by using both those pathways. And I think Josh basically just said that.
Thanks, David. Appreciate that.
If this doesn't go to the state executive committee, where would the resolution go?
I think it would go to our delegation.
Okay.
Correct, Terry?
Yes.
So it would just be going to our delegation. This is the vote of the executive committee, but then we still have the prerogative to call them individually. So is that, David?
So just a point of order. Right now, we have a motion on the table to basically table this. So we need to vote that first and then vote on the resolution if that fails.
Let me make sure that was Evie's motion. I never heard her say to table it.
That was the other motion, not this one. It was basically a motion to table because she said, let's not vote on it.
No, I don't think so. Evie, let's let her clarify, David.
I don't get into all these different things that go on here. I am just saying, if I understand this resolution, it is saying not to agree with the act that you're.
Right.
You're voting against that.
Compassionate care,
That's
right.
what this is telling us to do.
Right.
If we vote to put this through, we are telling them, we don't want them to pass that.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I am saying because of the amount of time here, unless you want to put this thing through, I'm just saying, why not call our representatives, individual basis, let our precincts know about it. We're doing the same thing, but.
So
we'd be either.
So that would be a table motion to table it. All right, and call. Okay. So this is a motion to table it. Do I have a second to motion to table it? Robbie Ann. All right. Do we need to have a discussion or we just want to take a vote? We'll take a vote. Do we table it or do we not table it? All in favor of tabling the motion? I know I got two that made the motion. 3, right? 3, anybody else? All right, I think that means we're not tabling. We'll continue on. So we're going to vote on it. Sounds like we're going to vote on it tonight.
Do we want to make this a
Secret ballot? All right, that's a good point. Do I have a motion? Anybody out there care to make this a secret ballot? I have two. I have a second. All right. All in favor of a secret ballot versus a open? All right. So we do. If you want a secret ballot, raise your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. If you want to open vote by raising of hands, raise your hand. All right. In the opinion of the chair, this is going to be a raise the hand, yay, nay, vote. Okay. Okay, so we got that done. Now, where do we stand? Are there any more points of discussion or do I have a motion to call the question?
Motion to call the question.
I have a second. All in favor? I need a 2/3 vote. To call the question, we're going to take a vote. All right. In the opinion of the chair, the question has been called and we'll go to a vote. All right. This would be all in favor of the Stamp Creek resolution. In other words, we're going to accept the resolution as written coming up through the Stamp Creek precinct. Sorry, Stamp Creek precinct, and send a motion forward to the state committee. Are we sending this to our representatives? So, all right, sending it to the representatives in opposition of the Compassionate Care Act. All in favor, please raise your hand in opposition of the Compassionate Care Act in the Stamp Creek precinct. I have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Say that again. It's just how you said it.
In opposition to the Compassionate Care Act, but for the Stamp Creek precinct resolution. All right, sorry. All right, so everybody clear? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to carry the Stamp Creek precinct forward to our state representative. All opposed, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the opinion of the chair, opposed have it. I still appreciate Stamp Creek for doing all the work to get it here, but we're not going to send it forward. We will individually still call our representatives, though, right? And let them know how we feel. All right. I would like to thank both of y'all for coming. Thank you. personally, I think that's good stuff. We get to hear from people on both sides of a hot topic. All right, the next thing, there'll be political brew on April 6th. Resignations and elections. All right, who has that list? Okay, all right. All right, here it is. Yes. All right, Broadus Albertson resigned as Seneca 1 officially, president and District 3 director. Seneca 1 has elected Jeff Bright as Seneca 1 president and District 3 director. See note below. Okay.
Never mind about that. That's
All
for
right.
you.
Sorry. Sean Tilson resigned as Seneca 3 EC. Kathy St. John has been elected after a precinct meeting with Seneca 3 as the EC. Luke and Jennifer Moore resigned as president and EC of Newry Corinth.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
we cannot accept the resignation
Of who?
of the Moores.
Is that a point of order?
Yes, that is.
Can you please cite the rule?
If you reference Rule 2. the
Is this
procedure-
state or
State.
county bylaws? State?
Yep.
Rule 2.
The proceedings of all business organizations, reorganizations, and committee meetings of all the county, state
Ken,
conventions. not
Mickey,
covered
help me out. So where are you at on rule 2?
by E,
E, okay. Thank you.
not covered by the rules or enforced in provisions of the election law shall conform to the most recent edition of Robert's Rules of Order newly revised.
Okay, so your point is?
So if you flip to 32-8, resignation of members.
32-8 where?
In Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay,
Here, Jim. This will help.
thank you.
Matter of fact, can I pass these out?
Yeah, pass them out.
So we'll give them some time.
Okay, go ahead. Everybody have Robert's Rules 32-8. Go ahead, Mickey.
All right, so at the very bottom, a resignation sent to escape charges need not be accepted. The charges may be deferred, as a trial should proceed the same as if the resignation had not been sent in. If you go to the next page, this is why I was asking for the trial process to be defined. This is in Robert's Rules 63-7.
Did I miss where that referred to that, Mickey? 32-8 refer to?
Well, we had requested the investigation.
Yeah.
PCs have never received the input back from discovery.
I think I stated fairly clearly, what is the original credentialing process for us during the point of reorg and convention? What's the original credentialing process?
That was not the question you provided. Mr. Binks, can you clarify the reason you brought the investigation?
Yeah, the investigation was brought because there was a question about whether the individuals lived in the precinct in which they were representing.
And they cast votes while not at that residence.
Okay, but I'm stating that our investigation determined that their voter ID and voter registration was in that precinct. Okay, and that is the point of record for the entire reorg and convention process. We don't investigate where everybody's living that comes to reorg and convention. We trust them on the voter registration.
And
Okay.
I do understand that, but we knew that they no longer live at that address. If you go to-
We did not know. Maybe some people may have thought that, but we didn't know. We got no proof of that from
That's
anyone.
why we wanted the investigation. And if you go to the South Carolina Code of Law, section 7(1) of 25, domicile definition, Luke Moore was in violation of that.
But that doesn't relate to,
Yes,
but that doesn't relate to the voter registration process.
it relates to him voting while not a resident of that precinct.
Okay.
It's
Well,
voters' fraud.
all right.
That's what it boils down to.
All right, I would disagree. In the opinion, wait, hold on a minute. Hold on. Address your questions to the chair, please. Mr. Wagner.
I'm wondering what the point of this is. They're out. If there is if there is a violation, if they're going to be charged with something, I don't see where that's in the purview of this group. I mean, I don't.
So where the point is, due to their violation and due to them trying to resign to evade the investigation and the trial, that would negate them for having the forfeit two, I think in our bylaws, it's two conventions.
Yeah, we passed.
That's fine.
Right.
I don't see what that has to do with anything right now.
Well, right now, we're trying to accept the resignation.
Okay.
And
So-
that's the problem. We should not accept that resignation until after the investigation, after the trial, after these seats have voted, whether they were guilty or not of that action.
Well, this committee is not a tribunal. All right. And as the chair, your point of order is not well received, because the rule you've already cited, the proceedings of all business organization, reorganization, and committee meetings in all county and state conventions. This is a precinct level matter. It's not a county level matter. It is a precinct level matter. And I'm saying the Roberts rules do not apply. All right. That's the ruling of the chair. If you want to challenge the ruling of the chair, all right, he's going to challenge the ruling of the chair. All right. That means we vote on whether or not the chair's right or Mickey's right. All right. So,
Point of order.
yes.
I mean, does not our county bylaws supersede state law and also Robert's rules? Because the way I see it, the Oconee County bylaws say resignation, any elected or appointed official at the county or precinct level who wishes to resign must do so in writing and must submit it to the county chair and the county secretary. The resignation will take effect at the next scheduled CXC meeting. The acceptance of a resignation, including assumed resignations, shall be recorded in the minutes, blah, blah, blah. They submitted their resignation to you guys, so we're here to formally say that.
Accepting it.
Let's go back to the beginning of that. Did you just state that the county or the state or county bylaws supersede state rules?
Yes, if the state.
The county, the chair is going to rule the county. Our bylaws cannot be in violation of the state rules. All right. So we can't, our county bylaws don't supersede state rules. But what I'm saying is that my interpretation of Rule 2 and your interpretation of Rule 2 are different. And he's challenged the ruling of the chair. Robbie Ann, you have something to say?
Yeah, I'd like to know what his purpose is for objecting to their resignation.
The purpose.
I think that's a similar question to Mr. Wagner, but you're saying purpose. He said, what's the objective? All right, go ahead.
So the objective is, one, for us to set in place a process for dealing with these things. This is the second time we've had to deal with this. We've not had a process in place. That's one. We need to go through that. Two is because they resigned after the meeting, after they had voted, they knew they were in error. They resigned because Mr. Nix brought it to question. So they were trying to evade the charges.
We are not a tribunal, Mickey. All right, so I'm gonna say he challenged the ruling of the chair. Let's vote on it. All right, and be done with it, because we're already past time and we're paying for security, extra security, and the particular people that are running this longer aren't contributing to the party. All right, so we're gonna raise our hands and we're gonna vote. All right.
What are we exactly voting on? What is your interpretation? What is Mickey's interpretation?
My interpretation is the rule that Mickey's citing that Mickey has cited does not apply to the precinct level. It applies to the county level and the state level as you read the rule that he just sent out. E says county and state, not covered by rules. It doesn't say precinct, county, and state. It says county and state. So the chair says this is not a valid application of Rule 2E.
So my rebuttal is, if this is not a county issue, then why is the county taking it up?
The county's already accepted the resignations.
The county has not, that's what we're here for tonight.
I think, no, it's immediately accepted at the next precinct, okay? And I want to end discussion and get out of here.
Can we table this to the next?
No, we're not going to table it. The chair will not agree to table it.
So when Mr. Wagner and I wrote those bylaws, that was, so you had no takebacks. You couldn't call and say, I quit, and then turn around and say, well, maybe I kind of want to come back. Well, you can't do that. Once you submit that resignation, you're done.
Mr. Wagner?
Okay. My suggestion is that Mr. Haney write up a procedure for dealing with possible fraudulent activity. I still don't see this body as a court, but I would suggest you bring such a document to the next meeting where we can discuss it. You can't go back and undo votes that were taken. If you have.
Actually, you can.
It was inconsequential, though. That wouldn't have mattered whether their votes were counted or not.
But I don't, Mr. Wagner, I do not have to write up the procedure. The procedure is already in Robert's Rules of Order, and that's what the state rules references to.
That if it was a precinct level included in E, and it's not. All right, that's my point.
There is a
Robbie Ann?
violation,
There is.
but it is not a violation that this body can deal with.
There is the fact that you should be able to accept their resignation, period.
Yes.
Without any consequence. If there are charges, then they can be made after you accept the resignation. It doesn't do away with any charges. The resignation should be accepted because we don't want them as part of this organization.
Thank you, but Mr. Haney has challenged the ruling of the chair, so let's get that done and be done so we can accept the resignations. All right, so all in favor of Mr. Haney? No, we're talking about Mr. Haney's position. So this is a challenge of the ruling chair on a point of order. All in favor of the point of order raised by Mr. Haney from Salem, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed? Thank you. I think in the opinion of the chair, the point of order was not well received. All right, now let's take the vote on the resignation. Okay, all in favor of accepting resignation? Thank you. Just for clarification, I don't want it to come back mysteriously. Okay, all right. So we confirmed the political brew on April 6th, OCRW meeting on April 11th with John Elliott in Oconee County. On Oconee County Growth, April 25th, OCRM meeting, 3rd Congressional District candidates with moderator Joey Hudson. June 1st will be our OCRM, OCRP, OCRW co-hosted event, meet and greet at South Cove with, I think, how many candidates we already have confirmed, Kathy?
I sent invitations to the 19 that filed. I've got 3 responses because they just went out today.
Okay, so we've got almost 20 that have confirmed, right? 19?
No, 19 that have filed, not confirmed.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
We don't know how many, but we expect a good turnout. Confirm the date for the next CXC meeting on April 18th. Easter Baptist baskets will be distributed the week before Easter.
I do have a question I didn't get the answers. I guess it'd be a point of information regarding CXC resignations and elections. We were informed that a D3 director was elected. And apparently that word didn't go out to many people. A D3 director was just elected. I don't know. I know there were several people that said at least one that said I would be interested in D3 director, but they were never informed. They were in the process of moving from Seneca 1 precinct to the Seneca 3 precinct. So I know we heard secondhand after the fact that the CXC didn't get word of it, at least not the rest of us.
Okay, the way that procedure worked, everyone who was at the precinct reorganization in Seneca precincts 1, 2, 3, 4, and whatever else is in that group, all of the District 3 precincts, their members, the precinct members were notified about this, and the vote was unanimous we put out a call for nominations. I don't know that we couldn't elect anybody that wasn't credentialed at the original convention. So I don't know that anybody else could have been elected.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, so back to the candidate meet and greet. We have a meeting April 18th. This Easter baskets will be distributed. If you ordered Easter baskets from Terry, please get with her. They'll be distributed a week before Easter. Any public comment? Hearing none, meeting's adjourned. All in favor?